I only saw her.
Yeah.
Poor thing had to be with all those teenage boys.
6:30 in Readfield, Maine. Please join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, we look like a painting on the screen.
I try not to look at anything that has me on it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our regularly scheduled select board meeting for August 24th. First agenda item 27012, the
Maybe it
select
is a
board
painting.
minutes of July 92nd, 2026.
So I messed that up, obviously.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? And I abstain. I was not here.
Okay, why can't I get to the?
All right, item 27013, warrants 5 through 9. Is that you, Catherine?
It is. For some reason, I can't figure out how to open my agenda. Sorry. I need help. I have a helper close by. I'm lucky.
Personal assistant.
Aha.
You want this hammer?
Thank you. Agenda packet. I need to open that next. Where is it? There it is. Sorry for the delay.
No, I'm having trouble logging in too. I don't know what's
We
going
have tons of time tonight. So.
Yeah, we're here till 9:30, right?
Yeah, right. All right, so this is warrant 5 and 6 in the amount of $463,279.36. Items of note, lots to the Secretary of State for motor vehicles, $9,340. We made our yearly payment to the Cobussy Watershed District for $10,448. We have $10,500 to municipal employee health. We had $1791 to Metro Count USA. I assume that was for Heritage Days.
No, Metro Count is our traffic counting device that we have purchased for transfer station and of course road use.
A very small legal bill for those of us who've been around a long time. It's very small, $975. That's awesome. Just normal things that we're dealing with. $850 to Swank Motion Pictures. I think that was for either 3 or 4 movies being shown across the year. 2 large payments to Wellman Paving, $30,685 and $241,959.30. And that was for doing Thunder Castle and Chase Roads.
Correct.
And was that 30,000 the final payment because they got everything finished?
I think 30,000 was for the road gravel. It was broken up into multiple parts.
Okay.
We had the reclamation part, the paving part, and then the gravel part. So there were 2, tens of thousands of dollar chunks, and one that was 250,000. And that one just got issued recently. So
Okay. And they did finish the work.
they did finish it, yeah, and we were generally happy with the result. The process was challenging, but we were happy with the result.
Great. So I'll make a motion to approve the warrant as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Excuse me. And then we have warrant 7 and 8 for $813.26. The total amount is $560,524.10. I'm quite certain we have a school payment in there of $386,334. We paid Scott Horn Construction $10,080 for, I believe, gravel road work.
Yes, that was for Gay Road. We had did some additional topping with the 3/4 crushed stone to finish that and really complete that work on that road Road, so now it's about the same condition as Loose Road.
We made our annual contribution to the Marana Cook Area Food Pantry of $1,500. We paid $1,975 to the Kennebec County Registry of Deeds. We paid $39,500 to Gardner Excavation, which is Logan, doing our plow contract. And this year we're doing something new, which is 10 payments, I believe.
Correct. Yeah, we in the past had done 7 or 8, but Logan was looking to spread things out. And when we did the discussion, or we had the discussion with contractors about how that could work, we were willing to break it up into 12 monthly. But it turns out we settled on 10, and that works for us because he's actually starting to load materials well ahead of the October 15th deadline. So that's beneficial to us. To have that work done early, and beneficial to him to have the money before it gets laid out for materials. So.
Great. I can't remember if I said that was $39,500, so we'll see that every month now. We paid $6,000 for the fireworks at Heritage Days to Central Maine Pyrotechnics. A whole bunch of payments to the state, and that is everything of consequence. I'd make a motion to accept the warrant as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That is also unanimous. Thank you very much, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Next, we're on to communications, select board communications. Does anybody on the board have anything they would like to say?
I want to wish Karen Peterson well in her retirement from the transfer station, and the solid waste committee had a great August meeting, and our new transfer station manager, Mark Smalley, was there and seems to be doing a good job. He's been with us for several months, right, Eric?
Correct. Yeah.
But hey, it had been 3 days in his new job, so things are going good.
I would just like to thank everyone that helped with Heritage Days. It was another wonderful weekend of fun in Readfield, so congrats to everyone that helped put parts of that on. All right, Eric, you're up.
All right, so I'm just gonna have a quick town manager report. Really, the warrant says it all. We did a lot of work over the past month on roads, and that's been a priority for us. The library parking lot was completed, so those are really big accomplishments. Maintenance crew has been focusing on mowing, although they are starting to transition. We had some great help this summer. Sean Sonda did a good job for us, and I wouldn't just say that because he's my boss, but he did a good job for us, and I know Matt and the other maintenance crew folks really appreciated his effort. So O'Malley did great. So did Alex. Blanking on his last name. LaBelle, that's right. Yeah, he was another great worker for us this summer. So we're hoping both of them come back. And to me, that's really how those programs should work. We want to get kids in, doing some work for us, sticking around for 2 or 3 years, and telling their friends, so we can have a good pool of high school kids to help out with stuff around town. It's good for them, good for us. The other piece of the summer really has been staff transitions and rolling things around. Mel really got her first full month underneath her, and continues to do well. You've seen her a few times now, and she really is. She's still here. Yep, and we're still working very well together as a team, the whole office. And I will say that the transition of the musical chairs with offices was a burden, and it really disrupted about 2 weeks of July and into August. But in the end, I think it's a really good transition for us, and it gets codes out front more, and really helps by bringing Kristen into the main office. Communication's already better. Support for the front desk is already better. So I think it's going to continue to show benefits, especially when we get into the election and voting season in November, when things get crazy. Now there's going to be crazy on one side and a different kind of crazy on the other side, instead of having it all together, and that'll be valuable. So anyway, that's been the the bulk of what we were doing this summer was moving things around, people, and again, as Catherine mentioned, Karen retired at the end of July, basically, and that was a big transition. So I want to again thank her for her service, and Mark is doing a great job. We are seeing some changes in the facility. I'm trying to bring some efficiency in different ways. And I know it's not going to be popular with everybody, but I'm doing it for what I think are good reasons, and hopefully people can adjust. And if not, we'll do something different. You know how that is. We try things, and if it doesn't work out, we try something different. So yeah, that's really it for the town manager's report. Want me to move on to treasurer, or any questions?
Any questions? Nope, fire away.
I'll just make a comment. I love the new layout of the office. When I walk in, I can see Kristen right there, and I think it's worked out really well when I've been in, that Kristen is right there with Mel, and they can ask questions, and it leaves Teresa more time to work in her office and do her job, and I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's a busier environment too, because they're all very high energy. Well, Teresa and I.
Those people?
Teresa and I are not so high energy, but Kristen and Mel, when they get going.
They're bebopping around in there, singing tunes,
Yeah.
tapping their feet. Yeah.
It's definitely a different vibe.
Just remember, you asked for this.
I did. But it is nice, and thanks for the feedback on that, Catherine. So I'll go through the July treasurer's report. Check reconciliation is completed through the end of July, and everything is in balance. We always have a few extra journals. Usually it's 40 to 50. We had 60 this month, and at most Julys we have 60 because we have adjustments for end of year activity and all of that, and we have to carry that forward into July. FY26 audit preparations are continuing. We actually have the auditors in the office this week. Tomorrow we start the week of 2 or 3 days. So that was all planned in July. Tax commitment, as you know, the commitment happened on the 27th. Mill rate 11.38, and that is lower than last year. Of course, taxes did increase by about 4.5%. I've received mixed feedback on all of the situation we're in right now. A 4.5% increase isn't dramatic, but it's also felt. And some folks may or may not realize how much work goes into trying to keep that low, or the fact that a lot of those increases are outside of our control because of broader economic factors. But regardless, some people really appreciated the mailing and the information about the revaluation process. And I think on balance, people either appreciate it, and if they don't appreciate it, they at least understand it. There's still a little bit of negativity, but that's inevitable. No one likes paying taxes.
I've had related, but not specifically.
Sure.
I've had quite a bit of feedback from different people in Augusta with their revaluation having just come out with their tax bills. And I think it might be something that we want to kind of keep a feel on, and so that we can prepare maybe a little differently for when we do that next year.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but
Our blow is not, I mean, they did it all at once, 1 year.
Right, they haven't been adjusted.
They haven't been adjusted.
Yeah.
We're not gonna see what Augusta saw.
But well, it's the surprise quotient because so many people don't pay attention.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing this for a couple of years, putting out stuff constantly. But I just want us to keep aware of that, because I don't want you guys to be sieged at this time in the next
People in
year.
Augusta's taxes tripled.
Yeah.
And that was outside the revaluation. That was
Yeah,
a
that
separate
was just-
cause, but there was correlation there.
Yeah.
But they think it's the
They think it's
revaluation.
the reval.
And so we have said that we want to try and keep this year's budget, which we'll talk about tonight, as focused as we can and as level as possible, so that it's not that people notice next
For
year.
sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to have a better process. I mean, we'll do what many towns, not most, many towns do, which is we're going to put together a schedule, we're going to run a model, and we're going to send everybody a letter with, here's what your assessed value is going to be if you want to talk about it. And then we're going to have our public meeting. We're going to have individual meetings with the assessor for people that need it, all of that before the actual commitment. So
Great.
it won't solve all the problems, but it should help. Because if someone calls angry and they don't understand it and you explain it to them, then they might not be happy, but they probably won't be angry. So,
Right. Thank you.
yeah. Budget accounts were transferred following the commitment, so all of those values are in and are being distributed to boards, committees, departments, all that, so folks know what the budget looks like and how it's being implemented. The report does cover the month of July, as noted. Year to date is the same, so when first month of the year to date, and month to date are the same. And revenues and expenses should be at about 8-12%. The first month of the year, being the end of the summer, usually has higher expenditures. And we're seeing that in a few areas. Also, first quarter of the year, we see a lot of lump payments. So those show up in a few areas that kick what would normally be an 8%, 9% budget expenditure up to 10, 12. So those things are visible further on in the report in a few places. Real estate payments are up about 1% relative to last year. As noted, we are expecting about a 4.5% increase in the total collected for real estate payments. However, because we moved the commitment date back a little bit further into July, we have less collected. So that's just an accounting thing. It'll all show up. It always does. Transfer station fees are down slightly, not anything to worry about right now. Motor vehicle fees, I am a little bit concerned about. Those are down 5.1%. They were down 4-point-something% the month before, and I think 3-point-something month before that. So we are seeing a bit of a trend. It's not surprising. Gas is expensive. Cars are becoming more and more expensive. So, but we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully things turn around and we get that revenue back. Let's see. Total receipts are down about 8% for the period. That's a combination of things. Motor vehicles, is probably a portion of that, maybe 10 or 15%. The rest of it's other sources. The high percentage in expenditures in regional organizations is due to the first half payment to Cobbossee Watershed District. It looks like it's a 21% expended, which is, normally would be a big red flag. I don't know why this keeps jumping to the other page, but anyway, it shows that way because of that lump sum payment. And again, we have a few of those. So overall, can't argue with where we are right now. I didn't see anything that raised concern other than perhaps keeping an eye on motor vehicle revenues for budgeting as we go forward.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions for her? Okay, moving on. 2704, oh no, sorry. First, public communication, any members of the public like to speak? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, moving on. Item 27014, consider the resignation of Marty Hainish from the Conservation Commission.
I'll make a motion to accept with regrets the resignation of Marty from the Conservation Commission.
Second. I have a motion, a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Marty, for all your work. New business, 27015, consider any property abatements requiring select board action.
Okay, one of you guys want to cover that?
So this abatement was, correct me if I don't get it right. He owned 2 lots and had sold one of the lots. It was still taxed to him instead of the new owner. So the only reason that it's here is that we can't do an abatement that's over a year. We can only do the current year. And so this is before us now instead of just doing it with the Board of Assessors, because this is for last tax year. So this is giving him back the money that he was taxed for the land that he technically didn't own because he had sold it to somebody else.
So the assessors can only do the current year. The select board has to do a prior year.
Yes.
And is this the one that's in the packet on page 35?
Sure is.
We need to change, I'm not chair. someone pulled in the wrong,
Oh, Dave, yeah, that's.
the right names.
I didn't catch that, sorry. We will just scratch the chair off, how's that?
That works.
That way it's just.
I didn't read that part.
Yeah, I didn't even look at that either.
Well, you need to get the credit. You're doing the work, so.
And we had, in our meeting, we did do the supplemental
Thank you.
for the individuals that should have been assessed. that.
We do need to motion and vote on it, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the abatement as listed.
A second with a, we correct the chair.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the explanation, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, item 27016, consider a catering event liquor license for 67 Poolin Drive. That is in your packet. It's for a wedding happening this weekend,
Yeah, let me look at the date here.
9/5.
Coming right up.
Coming right up.
I did speak with the property owner, just tonight actually, and they've got a really good plan in place. Their catering company has a full licensure. They've got, buses bringing people back to hotels. So, as far as weddings go, I think it's very well organized. And I don't have any issue with this. So I'd recommend the select board approve this.
Entertain a motion.
I move we approve the special event license, the catering event liquor license for 67 Poolin Drive.
Second.
As presented.
I have a motion and a second. Dave beat you.
I'm sorry.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Happy nuptials. Okay, so do I have to adjourn this part of the meeting?
No, I think we're just.
We can just enter into the
Yeah.
select board planning. Okay.
Enter it as a workshop and.
All right, perfect. So we are now going to enter into our workshop portion of our meeting. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
So does this part need to be filmed and does Mel have to stay?
I would say yes and yes.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
we've never done that before.
we've never filmed it before, I don't
Right.
think, no.
yeah.
I don't mind. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I think just because of the format we have and the compressed time, it seems simpler to just roll through it and, it might be interesting for folks to see, the type of discussions that we have.
Good.
You guys just can't call me the names you normally do. and we'll be
Right.
all set.
All right, Eric, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So, basically this is a condensed version of what we would normally spend 2 to 4 hours on. In the past, we've done, sessions for goal setting up at the church and other places, around town to try to separate a little bit from the environment here at the town office to talk about goals and policy, and do some strategic planning. And so when I first started, we had a meal, community members brought potluck dinner, and it was really an interesting and extensive discussion. I think we had more to talk about then. And so I'm actually kind of pleased to see this slowly getting a little bit more condensed. I think tonight might be a little bit much, but we're also kind of limited in what we can talk about, honestly. So it might work out just fine. But I just wanted folks to know there's a long history to this type of discussion. And oftentimes, most of the time, the goals and priorities that are established during this meeting feed directly into the budget process. Because that's really how we actualize a lot of these items is through spending or changing how we approach services that might save money. We've certainly done plenty of that too. So the flow is that we have the select board come up with discussions in consultation with me and any members of the public that are here and talk about priorities. We usually look back at past documents, including the comprehensive plan. If we feel there's a need, we look at past policies and ordinances and see where those are at. And it's really just a general check-in on what we're doing as a community, how we're governing ourselves, and where our priorities are for the coming year and years. I think tonight's discussion, we talked maybe a little bit more about longer term issues. But anyway, it's an opportunity for open dialogue. And once that gets wrapped up, we have minutes that get put together. We have a set from last year in the packet. Talks about the goals that we had. I always like looking back and seeing how we did. And I think 50% success rate's pretty good. I know we did better than that this year, and we usually do. Some of these things take years to resolve. But anyway, once we get through that, the budget committee gets a hold of this. And the boards and committees, and I communicate it to staff. And that communication is important because if it's just the board setting priorities and they just stay there, it doesn't really flow. It doesn't really get where it needs to get to. So we make sure that that's communicated to the public as best we can, but also to some of the entities that are making those changes, taking those actions, whether that's staff or budget committee. And then ends up in the town meeting warrant, and hopefully, whether it's a policy change or an ordinance change or a dollar vote on something, that's where it all ends up. So I wanted to just go through that flow so folks could know here's where we're starting and that's where we're going. So that's what I had to start.
Perfect. So I'd like to just review what we had from last year from our minutes, and it's always fun to look at these and just think about how I don't look from minutes from a year ago very often, but it's always fun to just kind of look about where we got to, some of the plans, discussions that we had throughout last year. So really we talked focusing on finishing what we've done, finish what we've started, finishing a lot of those projects. And I think many of us have said that for a couple of years now, and it's been a good holding point for us. We really want to talk about the winter maintenance project. We want to talk about fairground development, beach improvements, tech improvements. We wanted to review the comprehensive plan goals in September and in March. Now, I can't remember if that happened or not off the top of my head. I think we might have done it in September.
I don't
We're
think
not
so.
pointing any fingers tonight.
That's me. That's okay.
But so really the big ones where we're looking at is that winter maintenance, the fairgrounds development fundraising, beach improvements, tech improvements, the volunteer and engagement in the LPFM, and then the digitization of the cemetery plot maps. So those were some of those big pieces that at the end of last year, we thought made sense. So now it's up to us to talk about that. What did we do? What do we think we could have done better? Are there pieces that we want to carry over into next year?
I think the big pieces are still there.
When you say big pieces, you mean the projects?
The projects, as far as projects go.
Okay, but you and staff accomplished a really big piece, which was the winter maintenance contract.
Huge.
That was a huge piece. I know it wasn't a construction project, but it's like a construction project every winter.
Or deconstruction.
Deconstruction,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And that contract is for 5 years?
For 4, I believe, but it might be 5. Yeah, I have to look
I
at it.
think there was a fifth
I
option.
think it was 4 plus 1.
4
Yeah.
plus 1.
That's what I think.
So that's tremendous. That's
Less thing to worry about, I guess.
great. It's a lock-in. It's good for the provider and it's good for us as the receiver.
So we did. I
Hi,
got
Sarah.
pizza also. I was kind of expecting Warren to bring that.
He's
Good morning.
tired. He hiked already today. He's
Sarah,
done.
I saw you at Fielders. I saw you at Fielders. I was at the drive-through. You were walking very slowly across.
Well, I was waiting for teenagers to be with teenagers too.
Do you guys feel good if we take a quick break here and grab stuff, and then we'll come back and keep talking about where we think we are with those goals?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
We're on
More
page
fun to talk
44.
with our mouths full.
No, you don't. Wait till you finish. Talk through it.
People
Okay.
can now watch us eat, which is a special.
That's not.
A special treat.
And Bill and Bob, if you guys want to come grab a slice, you're welcome.
Or 2.
Or 2.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
ice cream. Pizza sauce on it or something. The big paper.
We got pepperoni.
multiple accidents there. Not just at the driveway, but on that curve. So I am really surprised that they put that one in there with the steepness.
I think Lee agrees.
I don't think that's part of the criteria, it's just visibility though, is it? They don't. Yeah. But I mean, when they give an entrance permit, it's just strictly like
It's
how
line of
many
sight.
feet of visibility, they don't take
Right.
into account the driveway of the situation.
So I think we can say that our fiscal year 25 goal of winter maintenance was accomplished. We all feel pretty good about that.
Mhm.
Great. So fairgrounds development and fundraising was supposed to go through this year. Also carry on into 26. I feel like that's something that will carry on a little bit further, given some of those delays that we had.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And outside of our control delays, we weren't, there's nothing we could have done that would have changed
Well,
timelines on that project, but I do think we've also done a lot of great work towards it in the last year.
are we putting the Readfield bottle money from the transfer station towards that?
We are, and in the summer months, it's close to $400 a month coming in.
It was 563 on the last warrant.
Oh, even better, yeah.
When I signed it today, it was $1,200 between the three towns for 2 months.
Wow.
And it's split, not evenly, but it's split on the same proportion as we do expenses. So it's roughly a half to Readfield and a quarter each to Wayne and Fayette, which I find astonishing.
Yeah.
That's a large amount of money.
Yeah, people like to support the bottle fund, whatever it's going towards.
And I assume that's what the sign is at the beach entrance is for the fairgrounds fundraising.
Yep.
Correct.
Thermometer. with
Yeah,
the-
I haven't stopped to read it because I don't turn in there.
Well, it's a good place to pay attention to the road, because a lot of them are short. Yeah, but no, I think absolutely, that's gonna be an ongoing goal, but hopefully we'll be doing some real heavy work later this fall and spring, and in anticipation of the guard coming back and doing the work in the summertime. And that's, there's always a little bit of uncertainty there, but, bottom line for me is that even if it doesn't happen next summer, which I expect it will, but if it doesn't, we will have done our work to be ready for when they come. And the more we can do up front, the easier it's gonna be for them and the better overall project we're gonna have. There might be another delay, but I don't want to hold the project back on the fear that it may not happen next summer. Because I think that we're planning on it happening, and we're gonna do everything we can to make sure it does.
It'll probably be easier to get folks to contribute when they see something happening.
I think that's true as
And so
well.
once we start this fall, there may be a small uptick until the major stuff happens and then it'll be easier to promote.
Yeah, I thought one of the things which was really great at Heritage Days was having the Maker's Mark down there. Like the volunteers and neighbors and all those folks. I thought it was just nice to see that energy and use of the space, it made people ask questions about the plan as well, which was nice. I think that's good.
So that's definitely a carryover goal.
Yeah, I don't want to back up too much, but I think that we have about 2/3 of the winter maintenance still ongoing with the salt sand shed project. Because that was part of that. I think we made great progress by getting our vendor situation, operational situation straightened out. But on the capital side, we need to continue to focus on that.
I agree. I'm still going to heavily promote doing something more along the lines of what Livermore Falls does. Having more of an outside thing. They have their salt in a place and then they have their pile of sand. And I know we talked about that they have a great system because they've got a road above a hill and they dump all their sand over the side. But I think we really need to look at all the options, not just an enclosed building, because it would be nice. As we're going to talk about later, there's some other things that we're probably going to need to afford. And I'm just really weary of theory. putting $500,000 to $1 million into a shed
That holds dirt.
that holds dirt. If there's an alternative, I mean, we want it to be safe, but it could be a little inconvenient and save the $500,000. That'd be okay with me.
And I think that's kind of the key is now's the time to think out all those alternatives, because I think we do have a little time. It's not like it's a panic thing we gotta have done next year, so.
Right.
I think it's good to make it a priority now and be able to turn all the stones over and work over all the options, so.
Yeah, I think we really looked at that, just looking back, we separated the actual contracting out for winter maintenance from that aspect, so. Definitely something that we're gonna continue talking about. Next goal was beach improvements, which we have listed until, fiscal year 2029, so. I think that's definitely a carryover goal that we did start talking about in our capital plan and taxes last year, putting money aside, so definitely something we've put the effort into.
So this is currently FY '27, right?
Yeah.
So is the idea that we came up with for the beach improvements is that in '29, we want to be funding and doing something?
I would say plan. We want to have a plan by that time.
Because we are already funding it in a sense. that way. I mean, we
Okay,
put
so
money
we're
towards
talking
it
about
more.
3 more years to work on it and then make something happen. Okay.
It's kind of how I look at it in my head. I don't think we'll be out of the sidewalk in the fairgrounds by then.
Yeah, I think that we'll, what I was gonna say, the exact same thing, is that as far as those large type of projects, the fairgrounds and the sidewalk are both looking like they're gonna be next year. And that's gonna be a lot to manage, so I would continue to have this on the list, but I would request that it move back a little bit as far as priority goes, because we've got other pressing items right in front of us.
Are the facilities at the beach improved enough now that you feel that they're comfortable and safe for the residents using them?
Absolutely. I mean, I believe they always were. This is about kind of going to that next level and improving accessibility for people with mobility challenges, but also putting in infrastructure so we can do outdoor programming or covered outdoor programming. Also have more community use of the space by having a large pavilion type building that we can use for outdoor education. Part of a potential summer program, at least a place to have swim lessons. If it's raining, they can go in there and do stuff. The idea is that we have that kind of infrastructure, sort out the parking situation, all of that, and just make that parcel and that area as functional as we can for all of the residents.
All right, Jared, tech improvements and productivity improvements. We almost done?
I think that's probably gonna be an ongoing forever thing. The one thing that I think probably needs to be addressed in the short term is the planning board asked for some tech improvements. And so Eric and I have talked about that. I'm gonna work with our new CEO to see if we can figure something out by the year's end.
Is it more productivity or tech?
That one's probably more productivity than tech. I think most of the tech is in place. What Eric has been talking about is things like upgrading the phone systems and the security systems and alarms. I think that would all fall into the tech category. But we've done the major lift has been completed, I would say, at this point.
So the planning board is more of a productivity thing,
Yes.
not equipment.
It's utilizing the new technology that we have in a way that works much better for them because they're using a very clunky system currently.
And I did actually, Angelica will be speaking with you. She does have some good direction and good ideas. So I think that we're not far off.
Yeah, I think we can have that done by the end of the year. Certainly, I'll plan on going to a couple planning board meetings and making sure that what Angelica and I come up with works for them. And if it doesn't, we'll pivot a little bit, so it'll be a little fine tuned. But I don't see why that can't be done by the end of this actual year,
like December.
like December.
I agree
first.
with that. I agree with that.
But the other tech improvement stuff that you mentioned, though, those are really pieces that Eric's going to do as town manager, less so as like a project like
Yeah,
you've
I
done
don't think-
already.
I think the big lift has been completed.
We do still have, and I think it would be happening this winter, would be the RFP for tech services. Now that we have a better scope and better understanding of what our needs are, finding someone that can meet those needs, maybe it's our current provider, maybe it's somebody else, but getting that balance and finding the budget is going to be important. So if we have to change that budget, we certainly have the ability to do so. At least have an idea of what it costs. Maybe we don't want to pay $25,000 a year for tech services. I don't want to, but that's probably not far off from what we ought to be paying, depending on what we have for services. But-
And you had talked, Jared also mentioned it about building security, that we're really sort of in the antique phase right now.
We're stuck in a contract.
We're in the Ben
with-
Franklin
Yeah,
years,
we're stuck in a contract with telephone wires, basically.
and the library is basically non-existent.
Library is uncovered. The fire department has video and fire and security alarms, but not to the extent that I'd like to see. Transfer station has video cameras, but no real access control. So I'd like to put all that together, which we talked about before. So.
Right, but I mean, that's part of the tech pieces because it's all kind of connected now, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. But as Sean mentioned, and I think I agree with that, kind of just falls under Eric's regular responsibilities. I don't know that it's something that we need to get super involved in, or unless he has to, in which case I'm always available.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay.
It's not a Jerry goal, but he's
Didn't
available to
realize
help
she was
as
fishing
needed.
for that.
Yeah.
It's always better if you offer than someone else pushes.
But I will say, I really appreciate working with Dave and working with Jaron and working with Catherine and Rebecca and Sean. You guys all contribute different things in different ways, different levels, depending on your availability, your time, your interest. But that's something that I want the folks that are watching and that watch us later to know, is that the board is actively involved with this stuff, individually and collectively. And it's a good working relationship. So that really makes things happen that wouldn't happen otherwise. So good to have them involved because it keeps me engaged. So
Perfect. The next piece on here is volunteer engagement, the LPFM. Catherine, that was a goal of yours.
I'm not sure that's exactly right, but I didn't do anything with it. My suggestion was that we have committees do something on the radio. And I never really followed through on that because I was patient and watched and listened to what the group with Kevin Kelleher was doing, and they've done a phenomenal job, and I don't think they need any kibbutzing from the select board with what they're doing. So I think they took care of it all on their own.
Don't fix it.
Right. It would never hurt to have a little blurb about committee availability. And, it's a way for people to, especially in an aging community, right? It's a way for people to engage with other people, meet other folks with similar interests, have a reason to go out once a month to visit with people. But I would say that goal was met. I think the
Yeah, I agree.
committee did a great job. We gave them a Spirit of America award this year, so.
Perfect. Next one is digitized cemetery plot maps.
Well,
That was a big fat zero.
yeah. We did nothing.
But I did find out that there is not one platform that's used across Maine for digitizing cemetery plots.
Oh.
So I guess it's how Readfield wants to go about it. Like is there like a software they want to use? Do you want to take pictures and put it in Excel? I mean,
Wow.
there's some discussion about how you want to do this before we can really get started, I think.
Well, aren't some of them like 100% like totally accurate? And then weren't we talking about something more of like a layover of the cemetery and the plots and where they all were and who they all were? Is that kind of what we were getting at, but putting it in digital form? So
Well, I think
was
the
online.
ultimate goal is so that it's searchable by anybody, anywhere by utilizing the web.
Right.
Because that's where people are at. And there's a lot of history being done about Readfield from the Historical Society and different folks. But as Rebecca said, I mean, the first place you have to start is with the information you have on the plots. And then I believe what Karen said we needed next was to get the actual GPS coordinates of the plots. And we need somebody to go out and actually do that.
Right.
And I think that's where you and I need to connect with Karen and the cemetery committee and decide who's going to do this, when are we going to do it? You know, are we going to have 10 people go out on a Saturday for 4 hours and just get it done?
Yeah.
Or are we going to have a person go out, 18 different times for an hour?
Right.
And then once you have the information, I guess,
What do you do with it?
you've got to figure out how you want to use it. And I think that's really, is that up to the cemetery committee, Eric, or is that a discussion thing that then comes back to you or to us?
I think that once we set that in motion, it would be up to the cemetery committee how to handle it. But if you guys saw something you thought would be directed a different way, then certainly. But I would expect it to be up to the cemetery committee on how they handle that.
And so we will do something this year about this. And now that Karen's not working full-time and being sexton, I think she'll have more interest.
Yep.
And we can spur that on by actually being available. But if the cemetery committee says, okay, we'd like to purchase a program, it's going to cost between $3,000 and $5,000 a year to have it and put it out there for people to use. Is that a reasonable expectation that they can ask for something like that in the budget for the
I think
coming year?
It could be in that range. I'd have a hard time with that dollar value. But because we spend less than that on our total town GIS software package. So that's just me. I mean, some things I don't mind spending money on, things like that. I'd have a harder time with it. But that's just a personal thing. But no, those programs can run from a couple thousand a year to much, much more.
I'm sure it depends on the size. I mean, if you're the city of Portland, you would have to host a much bigger database and arrangement.
Yeah,
Does it need to be that detailed?
I don't know.
In my simple mind, I'm seeing like a Google Earth picture of the cemetery and all the plots, and you lay in what all the plots are, and just like almost like a tax map with the map lot numbers. I mean, does it need to be that technical like GPS coordinates? Because when you get like 2 feet away with GPS coordinates, you kind of split hairs.
Jared, is that something, if we start having a discussion, you'd be willing to give us advice on?
Sure.
There we go.
Yes.
And we'll of course look for something that's the lowest cost for the best value. So I'd still like to do that. I think it's really important, actually. I don't
Oh,
know
I
that it's
agree.
$5,000 a year important.
I agree that it would be great to know where everything, and that you would look it right up. I'm just wondering if there's an easier way than putting that much effort into it.
But we've got a lot
Or
of
being that
information too. I don't know how much is needed. So that maybe the place we start is with Jaren, actually. So
There's your new goal.
Not my goal, just assisting.
just assisting.
Okay.
So it was a 0, but we'll continue it.
So
Well,
that
start.
that says, any other things from last year that wasn't highlighted that you think we probably should have put in as a goal that we can be reflecting on. Okay. So we identified 3 carryover goals. The capital of the winter program as a goal. Fairgrounds development, fundraising will continue. Beach will continue.
Cemetery.
Cemetery will continue.
So that's 4.
So makes it sound like we didn't do much. It was 4 out of 5 we gotta keep doing.
Well, with the exception
4
of
out of
1,
6. Yeah.
we worked on all of the
Yeah,
others.
I know.
And we know that they're not able to be finalized because they're long projects.
Yeah, for me, there was, personally, I don't have, all of those in my mind are through 29. You know, they're not next year's, we're not completing any of that as a board next year.
No, that's right.
These
Right,
are
we're
all-
gonna make progress.
We're gonna make progress, yeah, we're gonna continue to make sure people understand why we're still talking about the same things, because I think sometimes people are like, why are we still talking about that? And make sure we're pushing that in the right direction. So really, for me, it's just, does anyone have other new or revised goals to add?
I think we should consider looking at the ordinance list again. Eric did include it.
Oh, so you were talking specifically about this coming year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I got a couple.
I thought you did, you
Can-
kind of,
can I-
shook your head and I was like, oh, that's not what I thought.
Can I throw one in before Eric
Yeah, go
does?
for it.
Eric's are this big.
Yeah, they are.
So we'll do the others first.
So emergency services, I think, which is probably the top one on Eric's list, but since our initial meeting, and since that's just the more and more of a priority for me, the more information we get about it, the more I think that I would like Eric and the rest of the staff to devote some time to that.
I absolutely agree, especially after reading your information and a nice long conversation with Lee.
It's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd like us to just look at the ordinance list again, and I don't mind doing that again with Eric. Doesn't have to be like a goal, but
No, I think that's always nice when the grid, the one with the grid.
Yeah.
I think that's always good to look at. I think one of those that we've spoken about, Eric, is the shotgun,
The firearm.
firearm
policy,
policy. It's definitely in need of a review.
Yeah, I'd recommend either fully repealing it because it's arbitrary in the wrong ways, and it basically repeats state law. So I have a lot of concerns about that. It's also effectively unenforceable by the town. We don't have police, we don't have game wardens. So it's really outside of our purview. The one thing that we might want to look at would be possibly keeping some restrictions on shooting at the transfer station, town beach, and fairgrounds. But really outside of that, the shotgun only zones don't make any sense. They're truly arbitrary. And the provisions about shooting within certain distances and all that, that's all just a repeat of state law for the most part, and not something that we need to be involved with. So I'd very much like to see that pared back to a very limited scope or fully repealed, and then try to put something else in that's a little bit more effective.
And I think one of the easy things with repealing that is that we can state that state law is state law. And that's pretty simple when it comes to the properties and
Right.
firearm use in our community, so.
so it just needs a read through to make sure that that is the situation. And if there are specifics we want to put in about town-owned properties, it may not be covered by state law, or just to be very clear that the town has a specific interest in the property that we own.
Jared, did you have another one you wanted to raise?
As far as ongoing stuff, I think I'll focus my attention more towards the salt and sand shed and help Eric however I can take some of the load off him. be my main focus this year, I guess.
You're the man to do it.
I don't know about that. Don't jinx me.
Well, you've got a lot of knowledge.
Rebecca, did you have anything burning to add this year?
Nothing burning to add now.
Awesome. Eric, do you want to go into your big one now?
Well, I don't really want to go into to great detail, but I think that we've seen, well, there's two things that I think are really important for the town to focus on. One is something that's outside of your purview, and that's the school situation. It's not entirely out of your purview, though. Towns of Wayne and Mount Vernon both put $25,000 of taxpayer money toward trying to slow down or undermine or divert school consolidation efforts. And that's tricky. It wasn't just the boards, it was the communities themselves that voted for it and supported it. But there's a bit of a crisis going on with education right now where we don't have as many kids in our schools. And part of the work I had done with presenting some information to the select board is also available on the website. Clearly shows, and it supports exactly what the school district's been saying for years now. We're headed towards double-digit declines in our enrollment in most of our towns. And when you have class sizes of 2 or 6 kids in Mount Vernon and Wayne, and schools that are, multi-hundreds of thousands of dollar facilities with extensive operating budgets, and even in Readfiled, our elementary school doesn't have air conditioning. They're waiting right now. They're getting ready to go back to school, and there's probably going to be another heat wave, and it's going to be 95 degrees, and it's just not. Our schools aren't in the best condition. Rebecca knows exactly what I'm talking about, and it's not just those Mount Vernon and Wayne elementary schools. All of them are in poor shape. Manchester's in poor shape, and so the idea of continuing to operate under a grossly inefficient model it's harmful in 2 ways. Primarily, it's harmful to the education of the kids because you can't do well with a class of 2 or 6. Not really, especially when you have a teacher that might have to be teaching 2 or 3 grades at once, and specialists that are diverted from one school to the next. These are real issues, and they affect our population, our people, our future, our kids, and that's troubling. But also the cost. We have an old aging population. We have housing costs that are already pretty high, and a lot of our new residents are on fixed income or will be shortly. They're semi-retired or retired, and so the idea that we can just keep writing checks in perpetuity for inefficient services, it's a real mistake, and it's one that I don't understand why or where it's coming from. I think that there's a confusion between the identity of your community being with the school and the idea that the school is somehow going to save your community. Schools being open aren't going to make houses more affordable, and houses being affordable is what brings people into communities. Jobs bring people into communities, and we're a veteran community to Augusta and other areas, and a lot of these other towns are as well. So I don't necessarily fault them for being confused, but at some point they're going to have to, something has to change. And I think that the select board may have a role in that, and certainly should be advocating, if you feel the case, for consolidation efforts, whether it be consolidating schools or consolidating classrooms, just advocating for efficiency, making sure you appoint people to the school board that understand that we can't keep writing checks forever, and that it hurts our kids to be in classrooms that are too small, because it's not just those kids in that classroom, it's that resource and those dollars for that teacher that could be spent elsewhere if there were fewer staff. And the programming does change, it does suffer. There's no question about it. I mean, there's some idyllic things out there about small town schools, but that's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with structural changes that are coming upon us very quickly. So anyway, I think that's a big issue, and that was what really got me started thinking about population and demographics in Readfield. I'd never really taken a close look at things since COVID really kind of wrapped up. And the path that situation put us on with housing is unmistakable, and it's dramatic. We are looking at astronomical housing costs that are going up double digits every year. We're finally slowing down to single digits, but it's still high single digits. And every time you have a 6% increase on average in home value, you have a 1% reduction in student population. So it doesn't take long for 12, 15% increases in home value, 20%. I mean, think of all the factoring we've done. Every time you factor 20%, that's roughly a 3% decline in what people can afford to move here and have kids in the school. So we did that for several years, and we're still doing it. But anyway, that change is real. The income of folks in town, they're moving here, but they're moving here by selling a house in Connecticut and then buying one here for a little bit less money, putting their nest egg to work, and then they're living on retirement and Social Security and things like that. So these are real changes, and they're affecting not just the school, but they're affecting our working age population. We are seeing a decline, and we feel it. And all this stuff these are things we felt, but never really quantified. We're seeing a decline in the working age population, and these people that are here now, a lot of them, their kids won't be able to afford to live here. A lot of folks are in their 20s are living with their parents and not able to move out. And if they move out, they're not moving to Readfield, they're moving someplace else. And they might come back when they're retired. And that's just going to continue that cycle. So, but the biggest thing that I've seen was the aging of our population, and the number that I keep repeating, and I won't go into all of it, but just this one number is that since 2011 to 2024, not even 25, not even 26, but 2011 to 2024, our population went from being about 12% over 65 to 24 or 25% over 65. So
It's a big jump.
doubling percentage wise, and effectively a doubling by quantity as well. Our population increased in 1990 to 2000, but it's been static 2000, 2010, and the state projects and our trend lines project that we're going to be static again in 2030, but we're going to be about 30% of our population over age 65, and our median age will be close to 50, whereas in 1990 it was 36. So big changes, and so that's why I couldn't quite figure out what was going on with some of our discussions around ambulance service. And I kind of intuitively knew there was something there, but putting those numbers together really solidified it. And so, as you noted, Jaren, it's becoming an urgent priority. Lee and I have been talking about it, and I think we're going to be putting a lot of time into that, a lot of time. And I'd like to have the board fully behind that, because EMS is one of the most important services we have, and we're struggling with it. We're struggling to get the response time and service level we want. We're struggling with the cost. We're struggling with the lack of options. And so put all those things together, we're having dramatically increasing need over the next decade, and we're having declining ability to either control it or control the cost or control the service levels. And so that's what we're trying to figure out. And I don't know, Lee, did you want to? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I see that we have two things that Eric mentioned. One is the school issue, and the other is the EMS issue. And I want to take the easier one first, which is the school issue. Just how much input can we have, because we're the town and the school is a district, which is not ruled by towns. They give us a bill because their electorate passed their budget, which is the electorate of all 4 towns combined. So even if Readfield voted the school budget down, if the other towns all voted it in, we would all be held to that budget. And it appears that we have a big divide between the 2 smaller towns and the 2 larger towns, being Manchester and Readfield. But I think it's important, as you said, to approach it from a financial standpoint. And having been in the education world for 3 decades, schools are very reluctant to downsize because 85% of a school is its personnel and in terms of money. And they don't like to see personnel be let go. But the bottom line is we can't afford to have classrooms in the high school for special classes, whether they be at the top or at the remedial level, for 6 kids in a classroom that has a teacher who's making a salary of at least $50,000 plus benefits. And it's a, I'm not saying teachers make a lot, but it is a good lifestyle. It's guaranteed work. It's very hard to be let go from your job. And it's very expensive for the taxpayers. I'm not saying that we want to try and make people say, well, you've got to have 30 kids in every classroom, because that's just ridiculous. And I think that's kind of what people throw at it. Well, you just want to have extremely large classes and no teachers. Well, no, what we want to have is something that's affordable, that's meeting the needs of the communities. And I think Eric's suggestion was very wise, that we should put forth a statement about the affordability aspect and the equity aspect, that if you have 4 elementary schools and we're funding 2 of them to have specialized classrooms for every grade level, that's detracting something from the other 2 schools, because we're having to pay for that, right? We're all having to pay for that. And so the sacrifice then is that the kids in the other schools are having classrooms of 18 to 24, so you can have classrooms of 2 to 4 or 6 in another school. And there's a detraction on both sides. When you're in too big a classroom, that's just as negative for the student as in too small a classroom. But I know that we can't really influence the decision.
No, and it's really more of an awareness thing. I wanted to be aware of how bad the situation was, how much work our school board members are going to have to do. School board meetings over the next 5 years are going to be very, very difficult. 5 to 10 years, I'd say, if not longer, because we literally are looking at a generational issue. The idea that, well, we can't close because we'll never reopen. Well, that's not true. In 2 generations, we might be able to, but for the time being, the housing market's airlocked. Things are not going the right direction, and there's not a lot of promise. I think if we talk about anything with comp plan goals, it might be housing. But that's a real challenge. The state has been bungling that for 2 years. They've succeeded in making a bunch of homes that serve 1 to 3 people. Accessory units are not the solution. And especially in the Lake community, all this is more Airbnbs. So it's poor policy, but that's something entirely separate. But the fact of the matter is that you don't have a lot of control, but you do have a lot of influence. And so I wanted you to know what was going on and have the ability to help where you can, being involved in that strategic planning process, getting people.
Did they form a committee?
They did form a committee. We have 4 representatives. I think every town has 4 representatives, which isn't ideal, because then you have towns that have a minority voice creating an outsized opinion. And the result is going to be a plan that may or may not actually reflect the goals of a majority of the population who are going to have to live with it then. So you're inherently building in conflict, because a plan was developed by people that really don't have to live it.
So is their plan that the committee is going to develop whatever the consolidation issue is, or is that going to then go to the voters?
Well, that would have to go to the voters, and that's a whole separate process. The strategic planning process that they're entering now is mostly to just set the vision for the future of the community. But there are some red flags there. There's a lot of people trying to look back at, well, when we first formed the district 25 years ago, we had these rules in place. And I'm like, good God, what do you not realize what's happened in 25 years, or what's going to happen in the next 10?
It's been more like 50.
It's been a long, long time.
It's not 25.
But this idea that they're looking back to pretty much antiquity, is concerning. I'm also concerned that there is a legal process to close schools, but it takes 5 to 10 years. And I think that what's happening is that there's a delay going on with the strategic planning process, collecting some of the same data that might be used for school closures. But unless the school board votes to close schools, the legal process can't begin. So even if we decide not to close something, or if we do, nothing happens until they actually vote to close the school. So that's an issue. But also the economics of it. The administration can't just run a financially imprudent operation. So whether the other towns want it or not, there's going to have to be consolidation of classrooms. There's going to have to be reductions, elimination of grade level classes at certain schools. And they're going to be actively trying to fight against that. And I guess I'm just saying that it'd be good if the board was aware of that. And I won't say countermeasures, but that you were able to push back if and when you can on that.
So is that something we need to take a written stand on, or is it something we need to just be present at more school board meetings so that they're aware that town leaders are watching?
I think both. I know the town of Wayne has written letters to the school board, or at least factions of the town of Wayne select board and community have done that. But that's all I'm mostly saying is we just need to be advocates for ourselves and not just let this go because we have less to lose. Because we don't really. We've got as much to lose, if not more. I mean, I really think that we should be closing the Readfiled Elementary School and all of them, and putting a combined campus with the high school and middle school. That is about the only logical solution in the long term. And the longer we delay, the more cost we accrue and the more detriment we have to our education system. So.
Thank you. That only took like 9 minutes total, so I'm sure that's
Mostly you
shorter than the
complaining,
next
so.
one.
Do we know who's on that?
We do, and I think they're generally aware of these situations. Tom Maloki definitely came down and talked to me a little bit. But Tom Maloki's one. We have Steve Hayes, who was actually, I think, on the school board previously, perhaps.
And he was voting for consolidation 20 years ago.
Yeah, yep. And trying to think of who else we have. I don't recall the full list, but regardless, the strategic planning process is separate from anything that happens financially. It's an advisory. It's just like our comp plan. All it is a guiding document, and it's separate from any legal process or budget process that happens.
So the school board can still decide to have just 2 teachers at Wayne if they so chose because of the low population numbers, and that's all they would put forth.
They still can, and they're going to have to, but man, it's going to be ugly.
Okay. What I mean by they can is that they have the ability to do it, not that they actually would do it. But
Yeah,
legally,
yeah.
they are allowed to do that.
Absolutely. And the
Okay.
fortunate thing is the school board actually has proportional representation. So we have, I think, 4 or 5 representatives, and Wayne and Manchester have 2 or 3. Or Wayne and Mount
Mount
Vernon
Vernon.
have 2 or 3. Manchester has the same as us. So that's the one positive thing. But right now, what I've seen is a lot of a very vocal minority, and very activist minority.
We have to be careful because if other towns are vocal in opposition to what we might be thinking and we are not vocal, the squeaky wheel often gets heard.
Yeah, and that's mostly what I'm advocating for. Yep.
Okay, so I think we'd like to hear a little bit more on potential goals for safety.
Lee, are you going to talk tonight?
He's gonna talk. It's actually his turn right now.
I loved our conversation. I might be jumping the gun, but when we were talking about going to a fire EMT model for multiple towns together with some full-time people supplemented with volunteers, and maybe not having huge fire trucks in each town that cost $500,000 to $1 million each. You know, does every town need that? Or if we've got someone who can jump right on one, is that good enough to have for 2 towns? Whatever. That was one of the things that you had mentioned, so. You do, does he need the microphone?
Yeah, you should come from the podium.
Or you could bring the mic to your chair if Bob lets
I
you.
was comfortable sitting there. So yeah, as you know, EMS has been a problem for the past, what have we been, year?
Year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, yeah, time flies. And we've spent a lot of time talking to Winthrop Ambulance, having meetings. And we seem to be at a brick wall and we're going nowhere, in my view of it. I don't know if Eric really looks at it any different, but it's just, we've come up with options, you know, the towns out here had suggested we'd pay more to have the ambulance back in Readfield to alleviate some of the slower response times that have shown up. And that seems to be going nowhere. Or not welcomed upon. And it's becoming on the towns out here to go over and beg the Winthrop Council to even look at that is what it looks like, us having to propose our thing there.
So I think what you're saying and what I'm hearing is that negotiating for any different service than we have currently with Winthrop is not going to go anywhere.
Not without some dramatic changes or action, I think, yeah.
On their part.
On their part, and we may be able to still present something, a proposal or a plan. I think Lee and I both would agree that we would prefer to work with Winthrop because it will cost us less and it's much less administrative burden. But if we can't get the service levels we need and the cost is not equitable relative to the service levels, then we just can't function that way. Or at least it makes it very hard for us to do that.
So from my, you and I have chatted about this, Eric and stuff, and I just think there's a lot of positives for the town of Readfield and the mutual aid of these ideas. I think there's a lot of positives for
It's a big jump.
yeah.
You know, it's 15 years ago, I wouldn't have saw this coming. You know, eventually all this stuff happens, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think this would be a conversation we were having now.
It's a lot of work for you, Eric, a lot of work for Lee. Is there other expertise in the community that is there a working group that we can develop? I don't know. I just feel like.
Or do we need to hire somebody?
I think our proposal is we want to kind of start branching off because there's options of what we can do, but we really want to start involving the other towns. And so
Which towns are we talking about?
we're talking obviously us, Wayne, Fayette, Mount Vernon, and Vienna, basically the 5 towns of mutual aid.
Okay.
And Fayette has become very vocal in the past couple of weeks. Everybody's aware of the problem. So we're thinking if you guys would send a letter to the other towns and state your support of this. And what we want to do is we want to get a committee formed with all the other towns and actually have a working group there and start going through the options that we could do.
I think that's a great idea, but working groups can often be things that last for several years, and I don't see the solution waiting that long to occur.
Well,
I mean, yes, a year, maybe 2, but.
To be realistic, this is probably going to take 2 or 3 years to get up and going.
Right, so your working group needs to be making progress in 1 to 2 years.
The working group we were talking, would, you know, go through the options that we have, come up with proposals, and if it happens to be Lakes Region starting a standalone ambulance service, and then sending, you know, like a straw poll to the voters next June to see if the voters in that town are for it or not, depending on whatever option makes the most sense. And if we get a straw poll, figure out, then we start, you know, really doing the hard numbers crunch, see where we're gonna go and actually have a formal vote the following June on that.
The numbers that you put in this presentation, which for anyone who's watching this, that was included in our packet, so you can find it online. Do the other towns have similar data collected already?
They don't. Part of what I was trying to do with all of this, I mean, again, because the education and the EMS issues are really the same fundamental issues, age and housing. But they don't. But one of the things that we do have, and you mentioned resources in other communities, we do have a couple folks, at least one in our group in Fayette, that could likely pull this data together for those other towns. And I think it would be very valuable because the source material is all there. A lot of it's just from census data. Some of it's housing and economic data that the state of Maine has available on their websites. So someone that does this or understands this could easily replicate this for the 5 other towns. I don't have the time or resources to do that. If I had to, I absolutely would, but I don't think I have to.
No.
So I think that what we want to do is work with the folks that we do have to start getting that data together, because that's the fundamental argument is we're not alone in this. You're all facing the same trends. And what kind of future do you want for your community? Are we going to be a customer to a municipality using us to offset their tax base while we get minimal service, or are we going to be providing for our own communities? So my hope is that we can keep working on this. I'd like to see the board form a resolution, whereas now therefore, that we can then bring to other towns very similar that says, hey, we're interested in looking at this. We're not guaranteeing outcomes. We're not doing anything other than looking at it and getting select board buy-in. But that would happen after Lee and I had a chance to meet with the chiefs from those towns, the fire chiefs, to make sure that there was general consensus around that approach and trying this, looking into this more.
You mentioned that you've spoken with Fayette. Have you spoken with the other towns?
We've all, you know, on a chief level, we've all chatted, but nothing official. And we know
Right.
we all know the problems, and we need to come up with a solution.
So everybody has a desire to have a better solution than what we're working with now.
I think everybody is, and we just want to we want to go to the next step and make it official and start actually, you know, diving into it to see what the other towns are feeling. We've got a pretty good idea on where Fayette is leaning.
I know one of the big conversations will be, well, what's it going to cost? Because that's always where things begin and end.
And my thing is, we're going to be honest, it's not going to be cheaper than what we're paying now.
Right.
But it's
Today.
Today.
But one of the things that,
But as Lakes Region Mutual Aid, we've done this since 75, way before I was involved in it. And it's, for whatever reason, Lakes Region Mutual Aid works. We were regionalized before regionalization was a word in the municipalities. So I don't think it's a far jump for us to go from fire into bringing EMS into it. And my hopes is it would work the same way.
on the money side of it, as the data showed, I think it was 10%-ish is fire calls, and emergency and accidents are the rest of your work.
Most of the fire departments out here, our big thing is car accidents and weather events. call volumes have been going down. When I first became chief some time ago, we were 150 calls a year. You know, just fire. That was after we stopped doing medical assess. And we'd average between 125 and 150 calls a year. Now we're down to under 100. You know, I've seen calls down to like 75. Now, the past couple of years, we're hanging right around 80 to 90, just fire calls. And most of those are out of town. I mean, more than half of them are mutual aid calls. So, and every town's about the same, I would think. Then the bread and butter of the fire department now is EMS. Has been for quite some time. Like Augusta, that's their ambulance service. Historically, if you're going to be an Augusta firefighter, they care if you're a licensed EMT or paramedic. If you don't have fire certifications, they don't care. They'll teach you the fire stuff because that's the bread and butter. That's where all the call volumes are.
So that leads me to the funding part. I don't think we all need to be buying, as I stated at the beginning, $500,000 to $1 million fire trucks to replace on the cycles that we've been doing. If we are going to be more mutually responsive, I mean, Fayette has a very small department now, and we respond to all of their calls, correct?
A good many of them.
A good many
They're
of
all
them.
guys work during the day. So if there's anything in Fayette, lots of times either Readfield or Wayne responds to cover them. You know,
Right.
if trees down, wires down.
So
stuff like that.
I think a big piece of the working group needs to be looking at the shift. Maybe it's not going to cost all that much more, because if we're going to shift from bonding out fire trucks on a regular basis to bonding out an ambulance on a regular basis. Mutually.
I mean, there's a lot of the equipment duplicated.
Yes and no. So we kind of, we're all one department, but we get equipment to boost everybody else, which has always worked good. The fire trucks, it makes it tough because we don't have those cute little things that are stuck in the ground we pull up to and turn on, we get all kinds of water. So trucks out here are a necessity because we go to a house fire, we got to bring our water with us. We just don't pull up to a hydrant. So there's always going to be, in this area, there's going to be more. You can't get rid of half the fleet of mutual aid.
Right.
So we've got to have the trucks to haul water. So, but a lot of the equipment would be all centralized. So, and there's some duplication. We could get rid of that. And having it all in one place, I think, you know, you're going to cut your trucks down to probably 50%. You could get, you know, let the old trucks retire. And then some of them just keep in a role that they're just a tanker. Because we're just going to haul water with it.
Right, and that's what I was gonna ask.
They just need to be safe on the road, be able to fill with
And
water.
get the
and
water
dump.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of options, you know, when we start looking at it. None
But
of
if
them are
you're-
great options in
But
my
if we're
opinion,
paying someone
but they're a
full-time,
necessity.
they can show up.
Right. Well, that's the thing. If you've got 2 or 3 people, well, you'd have to have more than that if you're going to have the ambulance and fire, but because you've got to have around the clock coverage.
Yeah, and
But I mean, even at that, you have to factor in a somewhat reduction or a shift from buying fire apparatus to buying some EMT apparatus, along with not paying the EMT service that we currently have budgeted. And it would have to be bonded. I mean, no one would start something like this and just expect to pay for it out of pocket.
now
We don't pay out of pocket for fire trucks, so we wouldn't do that for this.
the first ambulance setting up for one ambulance is going to be rather expensive because we don't have anything. Stretchers that go in the ambulances are $40,000. So this is that's just the stretcher that goes in the back. So it's
So I
going to
think-
be gonna be expensive to set an ambulance up, but then you get all that stuff and you, like the stretcher goes with the next ambulance, you know, you take it out and use it in the next ambulance. So there's that.
I mean, this is a really big deal, but I don't think we have to look at it as, oh my God, this might cost us $2 or $3 million across 5 towns. It's not all at once. I mean, we have to do it all at once, but we pay for it over time. That just needs, I think it just needs to be front and center because people always say, well, we can't afford it, so why are we talking about it?
At least we would be in control of some of the cost instead of being backed into the corner and have to just go, I guess I gotta write the check because I have no option.
50%
So,
increase.
yeah,
Next week.
I mean, the deals that we get into that we're just at
At
the
someone's,
mercy.
yeah.
So
I'd rather pay a little more and control my own destiny.
So I think it's very clear, we all believe that these two things that Eric's brought forward are very important. In terms of from the select board perspective, is our goals, our work, we're not going to be engaged in the building of this goal, but the support. So how do we do that? Is this we do start our year off with some 2 new proclamations, letters, very strong support, and look for these working groups to have a regular voice at our meetings. I'm thinking like bi-monthly. Like I want to have information. I want to, because Catherine said a
I'm
bunch
on
of,
the same page with you. I was gonna say
I
that
just
those
want-
are gonna be the top priority.
I want to
issues
hear
and
about it.
Fast track it. as
Yeah.
much. I'm not saying rush it and get it done, but fast track as far as pushing to, let's try to get here by this day, not 6 months from now, just tell me what you came up with. Like, let's kind of set a itinerary.
And this can't,
In that
this can't sit on the back burner.
No,
Right,
that's, I think that's what we
what
all
I'm saying.
agree.
So let's push this along.
Not to, use something,
Go
but we're
Dave.
dealing with life and death. So the response times aren't gonna get any better.
And that's a life and death thing. I mean, our population is aging. It's going to continue to age every year.
Yeah. And
And
it doesn't have to be necessarily life and death. It could be the difference between someone having a stroke and ending up going into a nursing home for the rest of their life, or being able to recover and go back to their home for another 2 or 3 years. There's lots of things in between that
Right.
response time can affect. So it isn't just black and white. And I know we didn't want to make it a stark thing, but it's a whole spectrum of outcomes that we're looking at.
Yeah, and when I say push it along, I don't mean push along, we've already decided we want to do this. I'm saying,
Get us
let's push
information.
along the results so we can make a decision,
Yeah.
not kick the can down the road 3 years and then go, well, maybe we should do this.
so
Yeah.
are you looking for information back to bi-monthly, twice a month, or once every 2?
Once every 2.
And are you thinking you would want a select board person from each town to be part of your group?
I'm thinking yes.
Yeah, I would say yes.
So that's part of our goal.
That's what I want.
Is that we need to not just assign it to someone, but it needs to be someone who will participate.
I mean, honestly, I'd say it should be a fire chief, a select board member, and a town manager, or a chair, a chief select board member.
Okay, so now when you talk Vienna, you're talking all 3 selectmen.
Well,
Because that's all they have.
Yeah, well, they're
And-
selectmen,
And Mount Vernon, because they don't have town managers.
Yeah,
So I
it
think,
just needs to be a member of the select board like in Vienna and Mount
Yeah.
Vernon, because they don't have a town manager. But I think for this group to work, we need to all be going, all 5 towns need to be going in the same direction.
Yep.
Because that's gonna be how this whole thing would be set up.
Right.
So if only 2 towns are interested in it, there's questions. Do we continue going
Right.
ahead? Or do we step back, or do we go ahead with the 2 towns that want to do it?
Does Vienna really get their service from Winthrop for ambulance?
They get their North Star,
Okay,
but we had conversations with North Star. They were doing main EMS, whatever they are now. When we first contacted them a while ago, they were, yeah, we can do it. We'd like to work with you guys. And in a month's time or 2 months' time, their staffing had went from here to there, is what it seemed like, because response times to Vienna was instantaneous. They were hot, they were getting there with 3 people on a ambulance. And then all of a sudden that disappeared, it evaporated, so.
Another consideration, just so the board hears this, when Lee and I were talking, one of the issues it seems to be around the state with EMS is hiring people full-time versus part-time. And most places are just hiring part-time folks. So you've got an EMT or a paramedic who's doing 3 days a week in Winthrop, a day in Augusta, and a day in Greene, say,
per diem. And
to make a job.
That seems to be industry-wide, from what I'm seeing. That's why they have a few full-time employees, and then they use a lot of per diem, and they use part-time. Like Winthrop for a while, a lot of their guys also work on Augusta, and if they get ordered in Augusta or ordered to work overtime, and they've got a slot in Winthrop's, with a per diem guy, you got ordered in. Now the other guy is waiting, you're not showing up. So I think the whole baseline of how the EMTs and paramedics are paid, I don't think we can go the same way, because we're gonna run into the same problem.
My response to that, and again here, is I like the way Eric runs the town of Readfield in terms of hiring people. We hire quality people that we interview, and we often do a trial basis, and people end up staying because they get full-time work, they get good benefits, they get into a retirement system, they've got great health care. You treat them with respect. Respect is required back. And I would think that's how we would want to do this, because I think people will come if they know they're going to have a job, and they aren't going to have to do. We have several employees now who have left other professions and come to work here because it's better here. There's a continuity. There's a familiarity. It's a small town. It's not a big corp. That would be something I would think we would want to promote, because that provides a better service to all of your communities. If people are going to pay for something, and we're going to pay well, we are already, you're going to get a good service, because we're going to have people who want to be there, who are going to respond. So.
Okay, thank you, Lee. You can return to your comfy chair.
Thank you.
So you want to craft us a couple motions there, Sean, for Mel to write down?
Do we have to motion, or we just put them as our goal list?
Well, to make a goal.
Yeah, so Mel already got that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think first goal is the education goal and a letter of support in terms of for our school board members and our thoughts regarding the continued development of the process and the strategic plan to consolidate and look at the data that we have.
To maintain cost and quality education for all students.
Yeah. The second one is to develop a proclamation for EMS services within Readfield and mutual aid with the support of the town manager, select board, and engaging in a work group.
I'd like to echo one of Dave's comments. We really want to fast track that as well. Maybe use better language than that, but I try not to repeat.
Whereas we do it as fast as possible.
Well, we're not
Yeah.
meeting again for a month, so I think I would like Eric to put something together and pass it by us and have us just come in and sign it so it can get sent out in the next week.
How's that sound, Eric?
Sounds good. I like the ambition. I would want to meet with the fire chiefs. I want to meet with the fire chiefs first, if that's okay.
So as soon as you can before our next meeting.
Yes, I can absolutely. I think 2 weeks is pretty reasonable. I think Lee and I are probably going to start planning a meeting for next week with the fire chiefs.
That
We're
works.
not there yet.
Perfect by next week then.
Perfect by next week is just right, I think. Goldilocks right there.
Does everyone feel good about that?
Sure.
When are we meeting again? It's a while from now.
I think it was mid-September. Yeah. September 14th.
So that's 3 weeks.
Yep. Yes.
That's a pretty long time to not get a letter together and out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have something together. You guys can sign it, probably sometime end of next week.
That's great. Do you need someone to help draft that?
I think Lee and I can work on a draft and send it to, maybe Rebecca wants to.
Sure. Happy to.
She does policy, she loves policy.
Excellent. Well, if you get something drafted, then they can mush it around, right? And
I don't have anything drafted right now.
no, but I mean, if you get something, if you get something drafted, then they can work from that instead of starting from the scratch.
Sure.
Eric's done a lot of basic investigation, so we know that where we can go, what direction we can go.
Well, and getting someone to pull, I mean, maybe it's worth mentioning someone else to pull the information like you created for Readfield for the other towns, because that's going to be crucial to having a starting point to say there's a need.
Okay. So outside of those two goals that Mal is going to put into a wonderful sentence.
Oh, yeah, already.
Oh. I am not surprised by that, Mal. Just so-
Very efficient.
I think she's serious, actually.
And
Our continued goals.
our continued goals, I just want to highlight them again. I've lost my page though. Too many screens.
The sand and salt shed, the cemetery, the ball field, the beach. We didn't even put the sidewalk in there because that's just in motion.
Yeah. So winter maintenance capital, fairgrounds, beach, and cemetery. Plus those other things. So if we're looking at salt sand, Dave, is that a goal you want to continue?
Sure.
Be lead on?
I'd like to.
I'd like to stay on the fairgrounds and up my energy on the beach discussions with folks. We did say last year, after the end of the open space working group, we would make a beach working group, and we never did it.
So we should do that.
So we should do that for, I think, like, plan that for the fall to get that ready, to look for some volunteers.
Because then that doesn't involve Eric doing a lot of work,
Right.
but we can make a little progress.
And I'll support that. Cemetery, Rebecca, Catherine, still interested.
Yep.
And then fire and education, is that EMS and education, is that really just all of us? I want to say.
I think that has to be it.
It has
An
to be
entire
all of
board.
us, but who wants to say that they'd be willing to go to meetings?
I'll take lead on that.
And if
Does
you
that
can't
get
make,
on the board?
if you can't make.
Yeah,
one,
I think
mean,
if
I'd be
you can't
happy to
meet
go.
one, yeah, I like that approach.
I like
So
that.
just make sure that
Cool.
you say, hey, I
Yeah.
can't go to this one, who can head up?
Absolutely, you can do that.
That works.
I'd appreciate that.
And I can make that work as a backup. I mean, you guys have more committed daily obligations between set hours.
And I'll be bugging Rebecca anyway, just because of another, so.
On her other hat.
That's
Okay.
great. And then are we just going to say all of us with the school issue?
Yeah, I think so. I think
I think that's
I
best.
feel we're all on the same page with the support and the understanding, and it's a tough one, right? We just have to be advocates and
Maybe in our, whatever you called it, or we make it a proclamation for the school, but we should ask for regular updates from the superintendent or assistant or whomever is leading things at the school to come to the select board, not just to Eric.
we should maybe meet also with the 4 individuals that are on the strategic plan.
And maybe with our school board members as well.
In addition to that, yeah.
Right, just
And
to,
I think that's a good thing. I mean,
Just to
year
hear from
year,
them.
even without this, I feel like we should be more vocal about the school issues, even though we don't have power over it. I think we can apply pressure.
well, and maybe it's just good for our appointed, elected school board members to hear from the select board personally in a meeting, so maybe
think
we could
so.
invite them to a meeting in September or
I
October.
was gonna say, what if in October we had like a workshop portion of our meeting, which was a conversation with the people on the strategic plan and the
Is that
school.
the 14th?
It's a good idea.
You know, wouldn't be another meeting, we could just add a workshop portion to talk about where
It
they,
is?
what's the agenda pieces they're actively planning, talking about, and then hear our feedback.
Good idea.
October, I think September.
October is the 19th. So it's the 14th of September, the 19th of October. And I will not be here on November 2nd.
Well, neither will I.
Okay, so the three of you are on.
I'll be in Texas. Working.
It'll be a short meeting because I will not have a treasurer's report ready by the 2nd.
Oh,
Right.
come on.
So Eric, maybe between you and Dave and Sean, you could let those people from the school board know that we'd like to meet with them on the 19th of
Yeah, I'll invite
October.
them if I know their names.
Yeah, no, we have that listing. And I can get the contact for the four that are on the strategic planning.
It's always nice to have more time to plan ahead. And let them know it's a back and forth workshop. We'd like to hear what their views are and have them hear what our concerns are.
Yeah, if you can get that to me this week sometime, Eric, I'll reach out
Awesome.
for the
Appreciate it.
October
19th,
19th meeting.
cool.
All right, any other thoughts, comments as we go in boldly to the new year? It's dark already.
Oh, man.
Well,
Yes.
with Eric's awesome preparation, look at that. We're going to be done 6 minutes early and we only had a shorter workshop. We did start at what, 5:07? So we had on this
5:07.
portion,
Yeah, no, 5:07? 5:07?
5:07.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So we did it in an hour and a half. Just so we remember that for next year. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I knew you were gonna
That
do
was
that.
quick.
All those in favor? Thank you very much. We're
Thank
adjourned.
you.
It's like
Thanks
kicked
for-
him under the table.